Okay, okay, so this is a video where I'm drawing in real time. So this beginning portion is just me looking for a reference on Pinterest because I guess I don't want to cut it out. But this is gonna be me discussing OC lore, I guess. Like the basics of it. Essentially like the outline, like if you're doing an essay outline and doing like bullet points, like just starting something, I guess. Because I don't know, I think it'd be interesting. I don't know how long this is gonna be, but I'm mainly going to be talking about Clementine, who I'm going to eventually draw, who's eventually going to appear on this postcard. Because Clementine is kind of the one who surrounds everybody else. Clementine, my OC. So, yeah, that's who we're going to be discussing mainly right now. So, the whole story sort of starts off with Clementine's parents, who are Green, Vogel, and Caroline Bernard. Now, Green grew up in the United Kingdom. So, like, British accent or whatever, but like, whenever I say like, oh, this takes place here or this takes place there, it's kind of vaguely there because it's like, I don't know, I don't really want to be tied down by like specific areas. So imagine just like vague locations, like it's London, but like not really the London that we have in this world, I guess. But yeah, Green was in London and he has a twin sister called Anya Anita Vogel. And the relationship he has with Anya is kind of complicated in the sense that his family really likes Anya but doesn't really like him at all. So he kind of grew up in like a pretty bad like situation, pretty abusive home situation in that sense. And Green and Anya had a very complicated relationship to each other just because, Anya saw Anya saw her brother, her twin brother, be treated terribly by a family that treats her amazingly. So, Green held this sort of resentment towards her, and she had a resentment towards her family, but also felt a sense of luck, I guess. Green is he's very like autism coded, I guess. He got diagnosed pretty young, and it's also one of the reasons why his family kind of holds a resentment, because they feel like he can't really be on his own. His family feels like because of his neurodivergence, he shouldn't be on his own like at all, and that he's kind of incapable of doing anything really. And he is. He's very quiet. He's very nervous all the time. He's kind of like mousy in that sense, but not really, because he's pretty tall. He's like a big individual. He's tall, and quiet and stuff. And most of the time Anya and Green kind of spend their time apart. They're not really together. I mean, people don't usually find out they're related until they find out they have the same last name. But in school, Green has a friend called Brian. No last name yet. Brian is doesn't even have really much of a design, but he's still a pretty significant character. But Brian is Green's friend and also boyfriend, before Caroline comes into the picture, because Green is bisexual. So Green and Brian are dating when, in freshman year of high school, Caroline moves to where they live, which is like vaguely London, from France. So she's like has a French accent or whatever. And it's kind of like a cheesy love at first sight thing. Green immediately just like falls hard for her, like immediately. And at the time he is with Brian, and Brian is just like sees this guy like stupid in love with a girl, and he's just like, you know what, go for it, man. It's kind of funny. I mean, like, he's kind of like, oh man, I kind of like this guy, but also like so, like, infatuated with Caroline, and, Caroline is with him too. I mean, Caroline likes him, but Green kind of doesn't realize it until she explicitly says, like, hey, I like you. And then he, like, explodes or something. So after they, like, fall in love and get into a relationship, they make the decision to move. They make the decision to get out of there because, Green is in kind of a bad situation and Caroline just wants the best for him. And she already has a lot of family in Berlin, which is where they move. Brian goes with them to Berlin because, they're still their friend. They're kind of like a trio. Essentially, he's like the titular third wheel. Is that even the right word? I don't know. But, Caroline wants Green to get out of the situation he's in with his parents because they're very insistent that she shouldn't be with him because he's incompetent, because he's a bad person, and because he can't be on his own. But, he can. Green is very capable of being on his own. I mean, he kind of has been his whole life because his parents don't really care or pay attention to him. They're very, like, neglectful. They kind of just act like he doesn't exist most of the time. So he is on his own, so he knows he can be on his own. But yeah, once they move to Berlin, they want to, start a family, have kids, whatever. So they have a son. And that son's name is Clementine and Brian Bernard, because they did get married, so Green, he changed his last name from Vogel to Bernard. So yeah, they're like a cute couple or whatever. They kind of, it's a happy family. I mean, Caroline loves her kid. Green loves his kid. I mean, immediately they kind of realize that Clementine is also autistic. I mean, Clementine as a child is he's mute mostly, very nonverbal. But it's not like he knows. He's very smart. Like, the whole thing with Clementine is that he's, like, very, very smart. Like, he has a great memory and stuff as a kid. But he just, he's also very autistic. So he just, like, kind of doesn't talk to anybody or anything. And he just wants to be around his parents all the time. He's just, like, a kid. Like, I mean, they don't even realize, like, he knows English until, like, I mean, they don't realize that he knows, like, languages until later. Because, like, obviously they live in Germany, they teach him German first or whatever because, that's kind of the language, like, school is in and stuff. But they don't really realize that he knows, French and English, like, at least a little bit, until, like, he's, like, 9 or something. It's, it's just, like, a cute little thing. I mean, Green and Caroline's relationship is very, like, Caroline will go and say he asked for no pickles, and then Green is just, like, towering behind her because he's quite tall and she's, like, a little bit shorter. But, it's a cute relationship. So, what I did? Caroline dies. Oh, she dies. Whoops. When Clementine is around 10 or 11, he's in the car with he's in the car with Caroline, and they crash. Someone hits them, and Caroline dies on impact, and Clementine is okay. He's alive, I mean, but, as, they're getting rescued, he kind of just sees his mom's body crushed in a car, and he also gets, pretty bad burns, because the car kind of had flames and stuff, and he also gets, a head injury, like some brain damage, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of the event that, like, flips everybody's entire lives over. I mean, obviously, like, your mom dying in such a traumatic way, but yeah. Green is obviously, like, devastated. I mean, he kind of just lost the one person who, like, got him out of how he grew up and just got in an instant, It's terrible. But yeah, Clementine is pretty severely injured. He's kind of in the hospital for a very long time, I guess. And, Green is planning to go out and raise this kid on his own. I mean, obviously that's the most reasonable thing to do, but all of a sudden Green's parents and Clementine's grandparents come and say that, hey, this kid is not capable of raising a child on his own. And they, take him to court. They say, hey, we don't think our son should raise a kid on his own. We should get this kid. And his parents, they kind of have a lot of sway. I didn't mention before, but his parents are kind of like powerful figures in the world that they're in. They're rich. But, I mean, they don't really give any money to the kids, except Anya, of course. They don't really give anything to any of them, any Green or Caroline or anything. But yeah, they kind of have a lot of sway, so what did the courts do? They gave Clementine to Green's parents, Green's neglectful, abusive parents. And a point that I forgot to mention before is that Caroline is a pop star and Green is a photographer who constantly follows her around. I don't know why I didn't mention this before, but yeah, Clementine grew up around music and around a singer. And just around, like, going to concerts and stuff. Because Caroline was, like, kind of relatively popular, at least in Europe. But yeah. So Green loses his wife and his kid. His kid goes to live with his neglectful, abusive parents. And, it kind of destroys him. He kind of goes into his hole for years until he doesn't really talk to anybody. He doesn't really interact with many people. I mean, Brian is there, his friend, and his ex, I guess. And he just, like, kind of makes sure that Green doesn't, like, accidentally kill himself or something. Not accidentally, just because he's worried about his friend. But, this is where we get into Clementine and him going to live with Green's parents and his own grandparents. So, I mean, obviously, like, it's not really the best situation for any of them. I mean, as they did with Green, they don't really treat Clementine the best. They really just act like he doesn't exist. I mean, his room is in the basement and stuff, and the basement has its own exit and entrance. I don't know if that's common, actually. My basement does, like in my house, but yeah, they really just act like he's not there. And he just kind of deals with that. I mean, he's a young kid who just had everything ripped away from him, so he kind of has to deal with a lot. When he's in middle school, he meets a girl called Charlie Shore, and Charlie kind of just just kind of becomes like one of the only people who talks to him, really. Because she doesn't really get so many social cues. She's neurodivergent. I just don't know in what way yet, but she doesn't really understand that Clementine doesn't want to talk to anybody in the moment, so she insists on talking to him, and they form a friendship. And, it's like a cute thing of friends. They end up in a relationship together, Charlie and Clementine. They joke around a lot, saying that they swapped names because Charlie is a more masculine name but a girl has it, and Clementine is a more feminine name, and a guy has it, It's like a fun little joke they have with each other. But, it's kind of like the thing Clementine has and the despair he's feeling. But, still Clementine kind of just ends up getting worse and worse. I mean, he gets into substances. He kind of starts to drink and stuff, as a young kid. He's like 13 or 14, and then he just starts like kind of going off the deep end. He eventually meets an individual named Keith, who kind of takes advantage of the fact that he's in kind of this terrible situation, where he's kind of not treated as a person by the people who should be taking care of him. And this individual takes advantage of his desperation to get a hold of these substances just to, take the pain away for a little bit. And, he abuses him just, he uses it as, payment for drugs or pills or whatever. It's, it's terrible. I mean, but, Clementine is just doing what he has to do, I guess. I mean, in his own twisted mind, that's kind of how he feels, but obviously it's, it's not okay. And, as he gets worse and worse and more addicted to these things, his relationship with Charlie eventually sours because, Clementine becomes this angry person. He becomes so mad, he becomes mean and cruel. And it's not good for Charlie. So they, break up, but, Charlie still tries to stay connected with him because she doesn't want to lose him. There are moments where she thought she was going to. There are moments where it came really close to her thinking she was going to lose him, but she doesn't want to because, she knows he's a great person. He can play the guitar really well. He can sing really well. He's just really nice too. But, she can't stay with him because he's hurt. In a lot of stories, in a lot of these stories where someone is being abused, one of the main things they wish that happened was that their friends didn't leave them, and I kind of wanted to explore that, so that's why there's this whole thing with Charlie. But yeah, Keith is Clementine's groomer. I don't know why I didn't say that, but yeah, Clementine is groomed as a young teenager. And yeah, it's kind of awful, but in school, in high school and middle school and stuff, Clementine isn't exactly treated the best by his friends either. Not his friends, his peers, his classmates either. He goes to a private all-boys school just because, his grandparents, to them, going to a school like that is just pocket change. It's not much, so he's kind of forced to go into a school like that. And it's terrible for him. He gets bullied because, they kind of, he's just kind of this young skinny kid who doesn't talk much at all. He also has longer hair. He kind of grows out his hair the second he gets to his grandparents' place. And yeah, he's bullied pretty severely. Shoved into lockers, I don't know. I don't get bullied in high school. I don't know how to picture it, but just imagine, that kind of, over the top, cruelness. So, but one specific incident that happened was, where his classmates shoved him into the back of a car with no seatbelt and drove around really crazily, kind of throwing him around in the back of a car, and that kind of messed him up really bad. He has a lot of trauma associated with vehicles and crashing cars and stuff. And it's kind of that incident that kind of causes his behavior to escalate, Clementine's behavior, and he eventually gets expelled from his private school. And obviously his grandparents are not happy with this because, hey, it's supposed to be a good school, so they want to send him to a troubled teens program because, that's what it is. He is a troubled teen. But, they obviously aren't looking to actually help him. They just want him to go away, so they find this school in America. this random religious school in America that offers to take in troubled teens and fix them and, turn them right. So they ask Clementine if he wants to go here. And they really leave it up to him, and, he thinks about it, obviously. I mean, he's never been to the US, and he kind of just doesn't want to do anything anymore, but he ends up just saying yeah, because, he kind of just wants to get away from everybody he knows. So he goes to the school in the American South as this kid with, a German accent and, lots of problems. So, in this school, as some people may already know, is where Sebastian goes, and Ingrid and Elliot. So this is meant to be like a, religious school where they kind of have K through 12, but they're also split up by gender. So there's a boys' campus and a girls' campus. So I'm gonna explain a little bit of how everybody got there. Take a break from Clementine. So Sebastian, he's been going there since kindergarten, easily. He was born in the area where the school is in, and he went to kindergarten. He went to their daycare or whatever. And his situation is that, his mom is an immigrant from France, I imagine. So she's kind of just a French woman going to the US on her own. And she meets Sebastian's father. And, they have a kid. But Sebastian's father is a terrible, terrible man who treats his family terribly. And eventually ends up, pulling a gun on them. And he gets arrested and sent to jail. So, Sebastian's mom meets another man who ends up becoming Sebastian's stepdad. And also comes with, a bunch of, a couple kids. So Sebastian now has step-siblings. Sebastian has a lot of siblings, 7. But yeah, Sebastian has a lot of religious trauma. I mean, obviously, considering he kind of grew up with his birth father who didn't treat him the best. He is a very messed up individual. He has very complicated feelings associated with religion and his mother, because, his mom loves him, but she's not what he needs, I guess. And she's kind of awful. I mean, she doesn't know it, but she's kind of, grinding him down, taking away his spirit, and, Sebastian has a lot of issues with, harming himself and suicidal ideation. Ingrid, she is Sebastian's childhood friend, essentially. They've known each other since they were infants. And, Ingrid was there when all the stuff with his parents, his birth father, happened. And she's kind of with him through a lot of it, especially the deterioration of his mental health. They're very close to each other. They're essentially siblings. But yeah, I mean, Ingrid, throughout their childhood, they were always kind of shipped together. Ingrid was always asked, oh, when are you guys gonna be together? But, they kind of saw each other more as siblings. It was kind of weird. But, Ingrid has a lot of complex feelings associated with the fact that, she's kind of seeing her friend's mental health deteriorate, and she doesn't know what to do. Ingrid grew up with a single parent, teen parent, just a single dad. Thankfully her dad is actually awesome. He's trying his best to raise a girl. He's, educating himself about, all the stuff that he needs to. So, yeah, Ingrid's dad is a great guy. Don't ask about her mom, though. I don't know what's up with her mother. But yeah, Ingrid was originally born in New York as well, but just moved pretty much immediately to where the school is. Now, Elliot came to the school in middle school. Elliot originally lived in California, in LA, with his father because his parents are divorced, but it wasn't like bad or anything. They're still pretty friendly with each other. But Elliot ended up living with his father mostly just because he was in a more stable position. And he had some older siblings as well. But Elliot was diagnosed with autism at a pretty young age. And when he grew up going to school in elementary school, people didn't really know how to deal with it, I guess, because he was kind of loud. He was very, according to his peers, hard to deal with, and eventually leading to him being expelled for his behavior. And his dad was kind of at a loss because he couldn't really find any school willing to take him again. So his dad reached out to his mom because they were still friendly, and his mom was like, I have this school who's willing to take care of this kid who says that they can help him. So Elliot's parents make the decision to send Elliot to the religious school that everybody else goes to. So that's how they meet Sebastian and Ingrid and everybody else. So they end up becoming friends. And it's a good friendship. I mean, the school, as people would assume, is not exactly the best. But they kind of deal with what they have. They got the cards they were dealt, and they're dealing with it in any way they can. It's mostly kind of chill. I mean, not really, though, because they all kind of are dealing with their mental health and just in a situation they're in, especially Sebastian. Sebastian is just doing awfully, but, well, Sebastian sure knows what to do. That's to attempt to off himself. At the end of their freshman year, they've known each other. I mean, Elliot's been there for a couple of years. Ingrid and Sebastian have known each other for quite a long time. And Sebastian's kind of at the end of his ropes. He's just given up. So he makes his plans at the end of freshman year. They have a party at their school, like a prom type thing, but not really because it's for underclassmen. And Sebastian goes into the teacher's bathroom, which is kind of a locked separate bathroom, but students can also use it. And he attempts, but during the party, Elliot and Ingrid are like, hey, where's this guy? Where's our friend? So obviously Ingrid can't go onto the men's campus, so she's like, hey, Elliot, go find him. So Elliot does, looking, oh, here's the bathroom. I mean, I know Sebastian goes to it a lot. Uh-oh, he discovers his friend, trying to off himself. So, obviously he, screams, and, Ingrid runs over, because he's like, what happened to my friend? And it's kind of just a really awful situation. But, Sebastian lives. Ingrid is wondering, what she could have done to help him, and Elliot is just realizing that, if he even came, a second later, his friend would be dead. So it kind of puts a rift between all of them, but not in, obviously they're still friends, but now they're just, what do I do? What should we do? Elliot, this, super bubbly, loud individual, kind of goes quiet for a while. I mean, his family gets kind of scared because it's like, hey, are you okay? And he's just like, yeah, but, he did discover his friend trying to off himself, so, how okay can you be? And not to mention after school, I mean, the three of them kind of have, they have a pretty, status-wise, they're pretty well known, I mean. They have, a student council type club, and they're, pretty high. they have pretty major roles there, so the school is also like, oh my god, that the main student council guy tried to off himself. Oh my god, because in a lot of religions, offing yourself is seen as a selfish action. So there's also that rift, and Sebastian. I mean, he wakes up, he's like, goddamn, well, I'm still here. And I guess he kind of has like a come to Jesus moment. He kind of has like a realization. He's like, goddamn, why do I care? Like, why do I care so much? Why do I care about what my mother says? Why do I care about what my community thinks? Because obviously, like, he doesn't have to care. He kind of has this realization, like, goddamn. Because, growing up, he was taught a lot of these rules, a lot of these principles about religion. Like, you have to be this way. You have to marry a woman, have kids. You have to have this higher position. You have to go on to pursue all these things. And it kind of just realizes that, like, that's not what he wants, and that he doesn't care. Growing up, he had a lot of complicated feelings associated with the fact that he's queer, he's gay, he only likes guys. And, he kind of hated himself for a long time, and after his attempt, he sort of realized that, like, what the hell, I could just do it. Like, I could just like guys. So, yeah. And around this time, this is the summer before their sophomore year, when they kind of have all these realizations. I mean, eventually, like, Sebastian gets better, and they kind of start becoming friends. And, they only ever become closer because, I mean, they've already all close before, and now they just kind of have this connection. And obviously, their friends are kind of worried about Sebastian, being like, you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm better. So, yeah, but they find out that there's going to be some exchange students coming in, some students from other countries coming into the school, whether it be troubled teens or not. And at their school, when there's a troubled teen coming in, someone who needs help, they usually have a more well-established student to guide them and to, keep them in check on them. And Sebastian finds out that he's been assigned one of these exchange students to guide throughout the school year and throughout his high school year. And he's like, oh, okay, I guess. And when he finds out it's an exchange student from London, it's like, okay, I didn't know London was considered had an exchange program. But yeah, he finds out that he's gonna be, essentially, he's gonna have like a shadow, I guess, how like schools do shadowing of a troubled teen, to make sure that he gets better. And he's like, I mean, this is kind of at the wrong time. I guess I don't really care anymore, but I mean, I guess I'll help this kid. I guess who it is? It's Clementine. When they first meet, it's kind of because Sebastian wasn't really expecting this kid, and Clementine was kind of just at a point where he didn't really care. He's like, oh, cool, some religious blondie who's here to scare me straight or whatever. So at first they don't really have much of any kind of relationship. I mean, Clementine is kind of like, I don't care, and like I just don't want to do anything way. And Sebastian's in I don't care, but I'll do this because I was told to way. But Sebastian's also like, this guy's kind of good looking, he's kind of cute, in that really cheesy young queer way, where he just realized that like it's okay to like guys, and he's just like, I kind of like this one. But they obviously have to be together because it's Sebastian's job to check Clementine and stuff. Sebastian kind of realizes that like this kid is smart, like he doesn't really need help with school, but he also doesn't really want to talk to anybody, or talk to me, or talk to anybody. But he's kind of never left alone. I mean, Ingrid insists that Clementine go with them to like friend hangouts with Elliot and stuff, so he kind of gets assimilated into the friend group against his will, because he's obviously just kind of discontent with everything going on. But he ends up going because it's like, it's better than being alone, I guess, and also because he'd rather be distracted from all his thoughts and feelings. So he accidentally falls into a friend group, and they all kind of play instruments except for Sebastian. Sebastian's an artist. He's like, he draws. But Elliot kind of plays instruments. Ingrid's a singer. They find out that Clementine plays guitar, so they're like, oh my god, we should form a band. And then Clementine's like, I guess. I mean, I have nothing better to do. So they end up doing that, and they kind of, Clementine eventually warms up to all of them. It becomes, a nice friend group. Clementine becomes pretty happy there, and he's like, actually, you know what? Maybe this isn't too bad. And I mean, Sebastian clearly doesn't really care about scaring him straight or whatever. He's just like, I mean, don't, like, do drugs and stuff, but, like, I mean, you're fine, I don't really care. Clementine's like, okay, cool. So they also end up becoming pretty close friends. Sebastian kind of realizes that he has a crush on him. Their relationship, they're kind of like, I mean, on the outside, they're pretty much opposites, because, Sebastian is this goody two-shoes religious kid who, like, follows the rules, and Clementine is this very much, like, rebel type who doesn't really care about the rules, but at the end of the day, they also have a lot of similarities. I mean, they both have to struggle with, like, some sort of addiction, and they both, like, kind of aren't in the best situation with their guardians. And, Clementine kind of realizes that, like, oh, this guy's pretty cool. But he doesn't realize that, like, his feelings are, like, a romantic crush or, like, a attraction, like, in that type of way, because, he can't really understand the difference between romantic and platonic. He never really had the chance to explore what those two things mean for him. But I mean, eventually they both realize that, like, they have feelings for each other, and they're just like, should we be together? Should we be boyfriends? Should we? They're, like, confused, they're kind of both young and stupid, and they're like, should we? Like, is this okay? Like, are we, like, it's kind of really stupid and dumb at first. I mean, they eventually end up just being partners and just chilling. I mean, they kind of have to keep it low-key because, they're kind of in, like, a religious, homophobic type deal. But, they deal with it in any way they can. I mean, they can't, like, hide it forever. I mean, eventually, like, their friends find out and stuff, but the first person to find out is actually Sebastian's stepdad. Sebastian's stepdad is honestly pretty chill. I mean, he's there when, he first meets Sebastian. He kind of just sees this quiet kid who's, like, not really doing the best. He's like, how can I help this kid? But, he doesn't really know how to, so he just stays with him. He makes sure. And, when Sebastian attempts to off himself, he's just like, he feels like he failed because, it's this kid. It's not his kid, I guess, but he still feels a connection to him. And, they grow quite close. I mean, his stepdad is very nice to him. He's, like, what his birth father should have been. And he actually accidentally finds out that Sebastian and Clementine are in a relationship. But he doesn't tell them at first. He's just kind of like, you know what? This kid is happy. That's all I want for him. I'm chill with it. So it's kind of in that, like, stupid way. But, he kind of, like, feeds it. He, like, leaves them alone on purpose or whatever. Like, he, like, invites Clementine over and then goes out. Like, he kind of helps them be together, I guess. And then, like, eventually his friends gradually find out, like, Elliot is like, oh my god, you two are together? That's awesome. That's gay. The last one to find out is Ingrid. She's kind of... and, like, the way she finds out is by everybody assuming she already knows. They're like, oh yeah, they're together. Or like, oh yeah, we're together. And they're like, she's like, what? Huh? I didn't know. Ingrid's kind of a himbo. Not a bimbo, a himbo. In that way. Well, eventually it's kind of chill. For a bit. I mean, eventually, like, Sebastian's mom finds out. And what is her rational decision? To report it to the school and get Clementine sent back to London, obviously. So yeah, one day Sebastian wakes up. He's like, oh, let me go visit Clementine at this little dorm he stays at the school because, he's an exchange student. He goes up, visits Clementine. His room is all in boxes. He's not there. It's all cleaned up. It's all packed. He's not sure what's going on. He tries to call him. His phone is dead, I guess. I mean, Clementine leaves his phone dead a lot. He's probably okay, right? He goes to the office. He gets set down. The staff are all looking at him weird. He's like, what is happening? And then it hits him like a truck. We found out about you guys' relationship. Clementine is sent back to his family. Huh? What? He asks, who reported it? Your mother let us know. So, Sebastian goes back home to his mom, and he just blows up at her. Absolutely just blows up. Full on screaming. He doesn't really care. He never really reacted like this towards his mother. I mean, he hated her. He held a lot of resentment, but, he always kind of put on a mask. But this is kind of the first time where he was really screaming, and, his little siblings were there. His father was there, his stepdad. But he didn't care. He just had all these feelings built up towards her. This was kind of the catalyst, and he just kind of decides, like, I can't be around you anymore, and he leaves. He decides to move out. So at this point, they're all in their senior year. They're all pretty much graduated. So Sebastian is just like, I guess I'll go to some school. I don't know. He ends up going somewhere, to a completely different place, probably somewhere in the Midwest, some art school in the Midwest. And, he's obviously worried about Clementine getting sent to London again, getting sent back to his, horrible situation. But I mean, how Clementine is also worried. He's like, I can't contact any of my friends. This is happening against my will. I'm not really sure what to do. So, when he gets sent back, he kind of goes back to a place that brought him so much hurt before. And it's kind of strange because, he's doing better now. He is doing better, like mentally and just physically as well. And he just kind of realizes how bad it was. And it's kind of a somber moment, but then he also realizes that he needs to get the hell out of there again. So he reaches out to Charlie as well. He's like, hey, hi. Charlie's like, oh my god, you look so much better. It's kind of awesome. And Charlie's a lesbian now also. But I mean, yeah, I don't really have like a lot of this figured out yet, like at least this part of the story where Clementine goes back. But I do know that eventually they end up getting into contact with Green, Clementine's father, and this is the first time they had contacted each other in years. And Clementine is like, hey, I need to get out of here, and Green is like, awesome, come here. So Clementine and Charlie doesn't live in London anymore. She lives somewhere else in Europe, because obviously she also wasn't exactly happy there. But Clementine goes to live with Green. His dad again. And, he gets back into contact with his friends, and he's like, hey, I'm okay. They're like, oh my god, thank god. And, it's the first time he connected with his dad in a long time. It's kind of gradual. I mean, his dad, finds out that he has a partner, he has a boyfriend. And then his dad finds out that he also, kind of is pursuing music. And, it's kind of a lot of complex feelings, I guess, in that way. But, also a lot of happy feelings. They're together. Yeah, can you tell I don't have a lot of this figured out? Exactly. This is kind of the weakest part of the story. But, eventually Sebastian goes and visits. He meets his partner's dad. And then Clementine decides that he wants to go live with Sebastian where he's living. Sebastian ends up becoming a high school teacher, high school art teacher. So he kind of has like his career and stuff, and then Clementine's like, I want to go pursue music with my friends. So he moves back to the US to be with his friends and to be with his partner. And they live happily. They can be out and proud now. They end up going to live in like a city where they're allowed to be, open and stuff. And Clementine and Sebastian also eventually like propose to each other. It's all really cute and sappy and awesome. They get married and stuff. And this is kind of where like the story fizzles out. I mean, they kind of just have like a career together. They pursue music. Elliot, Ingrid, and Clementine form a band called Bouquet. And they also do solo projects. It's all just kind of a slice of life from then on. I mean, nothing much bad happens to them. I mean, I think that's fine. I mean, they kind of had a lot of stuff happen to them when they were young, kind of gotta give them a break eventually, I guess. That's kind of the end of it, mostly. That's, like, the outline. That's what I have figured out so far. I mean, there's a lot of, like, more complex details, like, with, like, specific characters. I mean, Clementine and Sebastian are the most figured out in my head, I guess. But, I probably need to think about, like, Elliot and Ingrid more. I mean, Elliot's whole deal is the fact that, they're non-binary, they're not gender non-conforming, but they kind of grew up seen as this, like, masculine guy. They were very loud, they were kind of aggressive as well, but not in, like, an angry way. They were just kind of loud and obnoxious, and, they're very extroverted as well. But, they were kind of, with that scene as this, like, masculine guy who played sports, they're like, but I don't feel this way. So, it's a lot of stuff like that, like, stuff specific to the character. Yeah, I'm not really sure what else to talk about. I guess I could talk about this drawing. This is drawn on, like, a postcard that I got from an art museum, because I like buying postcards and drawing on them. I'm fine with this. It's, like, decent. It's a decent drawing of mine. It's really nothing special. I just wanted to draw something, and then, I also decided to put this in real time just because I figured I'd be talking a lot. But I still have, like, time on this recording, so I really don't know what else to talk about. Man, I did not. I thought I was gonna be talking for the whole time. Goddamn. I mean, really the reason why I made this video is to, explain the basic lore and kind of have a format in which, like, I can go back to and, like, check on the current status of the story. Because, like, I haven't written any of this down. This is all stuff that's in my head. Because I hate writing OC lore down. I don't really like being tied to words, I like stuff to be flexible, so a lot of, like, small details change, but, the basic outline is what stays the same. That's kind of just how I like to do it. But, yeah, I've, always kind of wanted to make a video like this. Not necessarily for the public, just for myself also, so I can have a way in which I can go back and reference what I've done before. Because stuff like this is fun, and also, like, for my friends, there are times where I was talking and they're like, Clementine had drug problems? What? And I think stuff like that is like, oh goddamn, I really haven't told you anything. Or they're like, who's Charlie? How many seasons did I miss, Because, like, in my real life, I talk about my OCs a lot, I share their art a lot, I draw them a lot. I draw Clementine a lot. It'll be cool to have a place where I'm like, you wanna know my OC lore? Look at this video where I talk into a headphone mic for an hour, and the audio is terrible, and the art isn't that good, but you can listen to me talk. yeah, I'm really sorry for all the peaks. But I don't care. My loyal subjects are gonna watch this whether I like it or not, so does it really matter how the audio is? I just hope I make it loud enough. I'm also sorry if this is quiet. It pisses me off when audio is too quiet, but I really don't know what to do about it. If it is, I guess I could just try to turn the volume up. What do I talk about for 8 more minutes? Whoa. Oh, I dropped the mic. Here I'm writing Clementine's name on the postcard. I do these kinds of blocky letters a lot. I always do them freehand, mostly. They're pretty easy to do. I get mixed signals on whether or not it's impressive, so I hope it is. That would feed my ego, that's for sure. Might as well just cut it off once I'm done with the name, huh? Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. That's the T. That's how you spell his name. Clementine. Holy crap. The audio just peaked a lot, didn't it? What the hell happened? God, this is gonna be crap. This is gonna be just dog crap, isn't it? Oh my god, no one's gonna watch this. Oh, whatever.